Today, Wednesday, September the 23rd, we celebrate the feast of Saint Pius of Pietrelcina, most popularly known, of course, as Padre Pio. He was an Italian Capuchin friar, renowned for his mystical life and bearer of the stigmata, the wounds of Christ, on his body from 1918 until his death on this date, September 23rd, 52 years ago, in 1968. He was born from Hisco Forgione, a simple farming people, on May 25th, 1887, in Pietrelcina, a village near Naples. So that he might be able to enter the Franciscans, he was tutored privately because of his limited education until his entry into the Capuchin friars at the age of 15. To finance this training, his father went to the United States to earn the necessary cost. He adopted the religious name of Pius after Pope Pius I, Pio in Italian. Of feeble health, Padre Pio had come down with typhoid fever at age 10. But with strong will and the help of grace, he completed the studies and was ordained a priest in 1910. Initially, his poor health required that he remain at home. He was then assigned to a healthier mountain climate, to the friary of Our Lady of Grace in San Giovanni Rotondo, where he spent the remainder of his life. Although there had been traces of their appearance, on September the 30th, 1918, the 5 wounds of our Lord's Passion reappeared on his body, making him the first stigmatized priest in the history of the Church. This continued for the next 50 years until the time of his death, when there was then no visible scarring. For about a month before the stigmata began, Pio had claimed a physical wound in his thigh, known as transverberation, or, quote, piercing of the heart, unquote, indicating the union of love with God within Christian mysticism. His life revealed his very deep union with God, his burning love for the Eucharist and our Blessed Lady. A renowned confessor, he is said to have heard as many as 25,000 confessions a year. Many more received his saintly and spiritual guidance through correspondence. His life was marked by long hours of prayer and continued austerity. Letters to his spiritual directors reveal the painful sufferings, physical and spiritual, which accompanied him all throughout his life. And he was credited with many miracles. Worn out by over half a century of intense suffering, keeping his wounded hands covered, and by constant apostolic activity in San Giovanni Rotondo, he was finally called to his heavenly reward on this date, September 23rd, in 1968. Robert Ellsberg comments that the friar, quote, was forced to carry a double cross. On the one hand, he bore the painful, bleeding wounds that marked his body with the Passion of Christ. At the same time, he endured the burden that came from being popularly acclaimed a living saint, quote, a living proof of the existence of God, unquote. And it is hard to say which was the heavier burden. And at the same time, Pio was living under the full glare of 20th century skepticism. Even Vatican experts scoffed initially at reports of his wounds. Pio reportedly had a positive attitude to Mussolini. Even Pope John XXIII was skeptical. Earlier, for a time, he had been restricted from saying Mass publicly, an order that caused him deep spiritual pain. To suggestions that the wounds were a result of psychosomatic stress caused by too much concentration on Christ's passion, Pio responded, quote, "Go out to the fields and look very closely at a bull. Concentrate on him with all your might. Do this and see if horns grow on your head," unquote. Increasingly, however, the popes came to appreciate his uniqueness. In between, in 1956, he established a hospital and an international research center in the field of biomedicine. Capable of extraordinary prophecies, in 1947, when he heard the confessions of a young Polish priest, Karol Wojtyła, he is said to have made the disputed but astonishing declaration that this priest would one day be a pope. Not surprisingly, Pope John Paul II was a strong proponent of him. He beatified Padre Pio on May 2nd, 1999, in the presence of 250,000 people. 3 years later, this time before 300,000, Padre Pio was canonized by the same Pope and recognized as St. Pius of Pietrelcina, his hometown. In the novena prayer recited daily by Padre Pio for those who asked for his prayers, he included the request, quote, "O Sacred Heart of Jesus, for whom it is impossible not to have compassion on the afflicted, have pity on us, miserable sinners, and grant us the grace we ask of you, through the sorrowful and immaculate heart of Mary, your tender mother and ours," unquote. One of the world's most popular saints, Padre Pio is a patron of adolescents, stress relief, and those weighed down by the January blues, due perhaps to a famous uplifting quote of his, quote, "Pray, hope, and don't worry," unquote. St. Padre Pio, pray for us.